Nerd alert! Learning is important, right?
Yes, exactly. What a bunch of nerds.
Nerd alert!
Right.
Marketing Architects.
Hello, and welcome to the Marketing Architects, a research-first podcast dedicated to answering your toughest marketing questions. I'm Elena Jasper. I run the marketing team here at Marketing Architects, and I'm joined by my co-host, Rob Demars, the Chief Product Architect of Misfits and Machines.
Hello.
Hello, we are back with your weekly Nerd Alert. Every week, I'll take a deep dive into academic marketing research and translate its complex ideas into simple, understandable language for Rob and, of course, for all of you. Are you ready to nerd out, Rob?
Like a well-crafted algorithm, I am feeling fully optimized, Elena. So let's do this.
Perfect. Let's get into it. As always, we'll link the research we cover in the episode notes. This week, I read a study titled Conceptualizing and Measuring Brand Salience. And this is by Byron Sharp and Jenny Romanuk for the University of South Australia. But before we get too far, Rob, I wanted to ask you, when I say brand salience, what comes to mind?
The Webster Dictionary, because I want to go look up the word salience every time I hear it. So I'm assuming it has something to do with having a brand be relevant in certain, like maybe buying situations or something. But man, that salience word, that's a $3 word right there. So help me out.
You're right about what it is, but usually people get it wrong. Sometimes it's mistaken for just being top of mind. But like you said, that's too simplistic. It's not just about awareness. It's about a brand coming to your mind in a buying situation.
Oh,
yes.
I didn't realize the buying situation part of it was that crucial.
Yes, that's what this study is all about. So they argue that that's just way too simplistic, just the idea of being top of mind. They think it's more about memory structures. So it's not just whether you recognize a brand or you can name it in a survey. Instead, it's about how many mental connections does this brand have in consumers' minds. Connections that help it pop up, when they're actually making a purchase decision. So, Rob, let's do this. Name a soft drink brand.
Mountain Dew, in particular, Diet Mountain Dew.
Perfect. So that would be more traditional top of mind awareness. Now, name a drink that you grab while you're at the movies.
I tend to get the Seagram's Ginger Ale.
There you go. So that's brand salience. That answer was what mental associations you have with movie theaters. And the more cues, that ginger, would you say ginger ale? I love ginger ale. Yeah. The more cues your brand is linked to, the more likely you're going to be recalled in real world buying situations. So, Rob, could you think of a brand in your mind that has done an amazing job of linking itself to multiple cues?
Disney. I just think of, holy smokes. I mean, between the ability to be known for family entertainment or the vacation, the ultimate vacation experience, or just feeling nostalgic for the brand. I mean, they connect in so many ways for me.
They're really smart about how they do like their distribution strategy too. It's not just the movies, it's the theme parks, it's the toys.
Yes.
Like you can't really miss it. Well, let's talk a little bit more about the study. There is a key distinction, which is that brand salience is different from brand attitude. So marketers, we like to talk about brand love to people like our brand, to people like Disney, but liking a brand doesn't necessarily mean it's going to come to your mind when it matters. Consumers don't always make purchases based on these deep-seated preferences. They often buy what they think of first, just in the moment. So this study makes the case that brand salience is way more predictive of buying behavior than attitude. Because you don't have to love a brand to buy it, you just have to think of it at the right moment. So Rob, what's a product you've bought recently that maybe you don't necessarily love, but it just popped right into your head as like the best option?
Taco Bell. I'm pretty sure that 20% of what I ate was plastic. But it was in my mind. I'm like, I could use it. I don't know why. I think I'm going to enjoy it, and I never do.
I heard Taco Bell is actually one of the healthier like fast food places.
I mean, that's a tough competition, I suppose. They just have to add like real cheese, and all of a sudden,
and they're number one. All right, well, let's talk more. Here's where things get kind of crazy with the study. They argue that salience is probabilistic, which means that even for the same person, the brands that they think of can change based on the cues they encounter in a buying situation. So here's an example. You might normally associate Heinz with ketchup, but if you're at a barbecue, your brain, it might suddenly associate Heinz with mustard or relish instead, which is because brands, they exist in this web of associations. And the more associations a brand has, the more likely it is to be remembered. So that also explains why brands, big brands, they tend to stay big. They're just connected to more cues and more situations. So Coca-Cola is usually like a great example of a brand with a lot of brand salience. They're not just linked to soda, they're linked to
Right.
holidays, summer, family meals, sports games.
Totally.
That's what makes them so salient. And most marketers, they measure brand awareness with surveys like, which of these brands do you remember? But Romanek and Sharp, they argue that's just not enough. We should be measuring by how many different buying situations trigger brand recall. So a better approach might be, instead of just asking, what brand of running shoes do you know? Ask, what brand comes to mind when you're buying shoes for a marathon? What about casual wear? What if you're on a budget? And the more situations where your brand is recalled, the higher its true salience. The takeaway here is that brand salience, it's not just about being known, it's about being thought of in the right moments. And that means marketers should stop obsessing over, brand love, brand attitude, and instead focus on brand cues. Make sure your brand is linked to as many relevant situations as possible. And now for our Rob GPT. Brand salience isn't about being the loudest person at the party, should be more awareness. It's about being the friend who gets invited to every event because they fit into every conversation, which would be more, mental availability, brand salience.
I love that. And I can't help but wonder if it could really help put a finer point on a lot of consumer research and brand recall studies. Because I do think we tend to be pretty broad when we're seeking learnings about a particular, aided and unaided recall. But boy, that adds an added flavor to it. That's really cool.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. And I know that we do that in some of our brand studies. Like, for example, we did a brand study for the agency. And the really obvious one is when you think you need TV advertising, what agency do you think of? That's category entry point. But it makes me think, there are other moments where maybe a marketer, they're capping out on their digital channels.
Right.
What do you think of? Maybe not TV, but could we be something they think of when they're experiencing that? Or so that's kind of fun. Or like a marketer joins a new company and can we have them think, oh, I should bring in marketing architects? Like, it's fun. I think it's a little bit easier when you've got a brand like Coca-Cola. It's like, oh, there's so many opportunities. Like, there's not many opportunities to hire a television agency as to drink Coca-Cola, but depending on the brand, could be some opportunities there. And then it's fun to think about, all right, what are the different kind of category entry points we have? What ones do we want? How are we going to go get them or steal them?
Yeah.
Fun.
Your movie theater example is going to stick with me because I love Diet Dew. I drink it all the time. I don't drink ginger ale all the time, but when I'm at a movie theater, I do for whatever reason. I was like, that's such an interesting, and why? I really enjoy ginger ale, but I just don't associate it with, I'm at work, I'm going to drink a ginger ale.
Who knows? Maybe years ago you were at the movie theater and happened to reach for it, or someone told you to buy it, or you saw an ad for it. Who knows?
I saw Star Wars when I drank a ginger ale and it just stuck with me forever.
It's the power of Star Wars, I guess. That's it for this episode of The Marketing Architects. We'd like to thank Taylor De Los Reyes for producing the show. You can connect with us on LinkedIn, and if you like the podcast, please leave us a review. Now go forth and build great marketing.
Marketing Architects.